And Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It is brought to you by the Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. Of course, we are there every Monday. Today, we are at the great Chickies and Pete's at the Tropicana. They've got Thursday Night Football tonight on the TVs. And, of course, you can watch Game 3 of the Yankees and the Red Sox here at Chickies and Pete's in Atlantic City. Andrew DiCecco is here today for today's edition of Football at 4. A lot happening with the Philadelphia Eagles as they get ready for a very interesting opponent, the Denver Broncos. We're going to break them down. We're going to break it down right now with Andrew DiCecco from InsideTheBirds.com and the Inside the Birds podcast. Eagles lead the all-time series 9-5 is their record, and they have won the last 2 meetings. They are favored by 3.5. A third straight win would be the longest win streak in this matchup between the Eagles and the Broncos. But this is a sneaky good Broncos team, Andrew DiCecco. They play good defense. They have a really good offensive line, and they're coming off a very impressive Monday night win over the Bengals.
Yep, there's no doubt about it. And when the schedule came out, I sort of circled Week 5 as a game to keep an eye on that could be sneaky entertaining and meaningful for a couple of different reasons. And the first being that this is really where I believe you are going to get a better sense of what the Eagles' identity is and what I'm expecting to be a nice measuring stick.
Let's see all the lead up to this game. We'll talk more about the matchup here in just a second, but obviously you're in that locker room. You're covering everything that's going on. Is all this A.J. Brown stuff done? Is it peace and harmony, or does this carry over throughout the season?
Yeah, I don't usually like getting into this, but yeah, I guess it's for now. They put a pin in it. A.J. I thought was really accountable when he spoke at his locker and took ownership of what he said. And he mentioned also, and it really shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, that he knows the impact that he can make when he's involved offensively, especially when they're struggling. He said, I want the ball, put that on me because that's what I work for. I want that pressure. And so I think it's going to be kind of an ebbs and flows thing with this offense. They're not going to force feed them, but they do need to get the passing game going, make no mistake about it. And they need to get A.J. Brown involved way earlier. He's an elite player at the position, and needless to say, he can make a monumental impact on a game, even on a short completion where he can shed tacklers and turn it into a 45, 50-yard pickup. So that's really all I have to say on that.
All right, well, and his opening statement said, look, I want to say, obviously, after the game, I let my frustrations boil over. I want to get your perspective on the football thing here, because he did get 9 targets last week. He had 10 the week before. He had 8 the week before that. Why in the game with 8 and 9 are the numbers not there? And the week with 10, yeah, he had 100 yards. What are we seeing from the passing game that he is getting targets, but they are not fulfilling targets?
Well, you got to look at the quality of the targets. I mean, you look at two or three of the targets in the Tampa Bay game, 2 of which sailed out of bounds, and there was another that was a shorter completion that was nearly picked off, and one that was a little bit wide. So, I mean, it's a culmination of things. You could look at the route concepts. I thought I was going to see more in breakers against that defense than we saw on Sunday. You can look at overall execution. Jalen Hurts getting the ball out faster. The offensive line not necessarily holding up as we've grown accustomed to them seeing, especially from the interior. So I think it's just a culmination of things as to why they're not able to get him on the same page. But I think early in games they've gone away from that, and they're trying to really hang their hat on this running game that's struggling to take shape. And then when the running game's not going and things aren't falling into their favor, that's where they have to take to the air. And teams they're sort of sitting on that and squatting on things because they know that they can't run the football effectively right now. And that's where you see them put a little bit more stress on the passing game. And I also don't agree with the sentiment that, players aren't getting open. You could point to a small handful of times in any NFL game where a player isn't able to uncover. But what is uncovering in the NFL? The windows are so small that you have to be able to pounce and take advantage of it. So they have to get better. There's no doubt about it.
Andrew DiCecco, Football at 4 at Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com. They're not running the ball very well, Andrew. Lane Johnson has been in and out. Tyler Steen replacing Mekhi Becton. And then you go over to Landon Dickerson. He might be out there, but doesn't appear to be himself. This offensive line, are they obviously not as good as the line that we're used to seeing?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's fair to say, but there's also context that's required. They're obviously banged up there. Landon Dickerson went into the season nursing an injury. He battles through it more than any player I've ever seen. He's a warrior, but he's clearly not himself. Cam Jurgens had back surgery in February and didn't work all that much in training camp. Tyler Steen suffered an injury right before the half, came back in, but wasn't 100%. Lane Johnson's been working through some things. So they're not at full strength, and that sort of leads them to that is able to, I guess, that compounds things in the sense that their offensive line isn't necessarily able to hold up quite like it has. But I think Jordan Mailata, lost in all this, has been fantastic through the first 4 games.
All right, Andrew, let's take a look at some other things that are happening. I want to get your take on what's going to happen with Nakobe Dean. It seems that the coaches are even kind of lost. I'm sure they have an idea maybe in private meetings, but how do they utilize him when he's ready to return? What do they do with Jahai Campbell? That kind of looks like something that's going to be, hitting an apex here pretty soon.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see, obviously, but it's kind of a good problem to have if you're the Eagles. And Vic Fangio doesn't traditionally rotate linebackers, but I think with a player like Nakobe Dean of that talent, you tend to wonder if he's going to make an exception because there should be a role for him. Now, I'm not suggesting that he's going to suddenly take on a sizable workload, but sporadically, I think he can be a situational player. He's very effective and tough against the run, and he's an effective blitzer as well. So there are certain facets of that defense situationally that I could see him having an impact in, and I don't believe that they're going to do anything with Jahai Campbell. He's playing too well right now as an off-ball linebacker, and as a rookie, the last thing you want to do, I would have to imagine, is take him from a position that he's continuously growing within each week. You can see it even, series to series, and make him, reduce his snaps. I don't see that happening either, but I do think that Nakobe Dean's going to factor in defensively.
All right, let's take a quick look at the matchups here. I want to get your opinion. Denver's defense ranks first in QBR. They're first in sacks, second in pressures. So what kind of defense do we think, what kind of offensive game plan do we think Philadelphia needs to kind of have this week against this very aggressive Broncos defense?
Yeah, I mean, I still think they're going to try and get the running game going. But the passing game is interesting here because you have Pat Surtain at corner, Riley Moss, another corner on the other side. You should see a lot of Devontae Smith, which I think that heavily favors the Eagles. Then they have Jaquan McMillan. He's their nickel corner, and he's been a really good story development undrafted free agent in 2022 out of East Carolina. A good student under Christian Parker, the Eagles defensive backs coach. And they have Hufanga, the safety there, who's more of a thumper. I think the area to exploit them when they do take to the air is in that second level where they have former Eagles linebacker Alex Singleton patrolling that second level. And Justin Sinnott from Wake Forest. I like him coming out of the draft, but those are 2 players that I think the Eagles should be able to take advantage of. But they have to wait and see on the availability of Dallas Goedert. That could impact things greatly.
Now, they play a lot of man defense, the Broncos. The zone has been giving the Eagles the problems, right? That's what the problem has been is teams, Dallas zoned them up 90% of the time. Tampa zoned them up. This could be a week where maybe Jalen Hurts, has the ability to then, do something he feels more comfortable. Has that been a problem for their passing game?
It just looks disjointed, and it's unfair to pinpoint everything on Kevin Petullo. I think to do that is extremely short-sighted.
Okay,
there's the offensive line, there's getting the ball out faster, there's the route concepts, the play getting in and out of the huddle fast, and I know that it's easy to point at the offensive coordinator, but there's a lot of moving pieces to that, and I think that's important that the audience knows that it's disjointed on many levels. And I don't know that it's Jalen Hurts not being comfortable in it or anything like that. They have yet to establish an identity. I don't know exactly what they're looking to accomplish on that side of the ball yet. Are they a run-first team? Are they a pass-heavy team? Are they a team that attempts deep shots? We don't know that yet because we haven't seen it. And this is the week that I sort of earmarked as sort of a point in the season where you should have a better sense of what this team is and what their identity is. And I think that they're going to have an opportunity here against a Broncos team who is pretty well-rounded to get things going if they can get the passing game and allow Jalen Hurts to settle into the flow with these short completions to move the offense and keep it on schedule.
Yeah, Andrew. A couple more with Andrew DiCecco. By the way, Hurts 74% completions, 4 touchdowns, 6.7 yards in the pass versus man this season. 66% with 1 touchdown, 5.6 yards per attempt versus the zone. So we'll see if Hurts can get himself going, if this disjointed pass game can get themselves going. And then, obviously you've got the Denver offense. What impresses you or would worry you if you're Vic Fangio about the Denver offense, which, doesn't have that high-profile wide receiver, running back, although J.K. Dobbins did have 100 yards last week. And Bo Nix is an interesting guy, kind of erratic at times, but had a really good game on Monday night.
Yeah, Vic Fangio likened Bo Nix to Baker Mayfield, and he can kind of escape, and he likes to try and make plays outside of structure. Now he's thrown 4 interceptions this season against 7 touchdowns. But let's look at their skill position. They're pretty deep at wide receiver. They also have Troy Franklin in the slot. He played college football with Bo Nix at Oregon. They have Marvin Mims, who I like quite a bit, coming out a couple of years ago. And Cortland Sutton, who's more the big body possession receiver who can go up and get it and win those 50-50 balls. So, yeah, they have a pretty good receiving core. And then the running game, the Eagles haven't necessarily been as stout as normal defending the run because they have you saw what Bucky Irving is able to do against the Buccaneers, really tough running, good contact balance. They have to bring these guys down, and especially in the open field. But they have J.K. Dobbins, who's averaging 5.7 yards a carry, and rookie R.J. Harvey, a second-round pick out of UCF, who's averaging 5.1 yards a carry. And they both present a different type of skill set. So if they have the luxury of being able to keep both of those players fresh and putting that unique stress on the Eagles defense. So it's going to be paramount for them to set the tone up front and force Bo Nix to throw the football, because if he does and they get pass happy, I think there's going to be an interception or two.
Okay. By the way, you were in Tampa. It was hot down there. Kaylee Ringo, I know this week, Vic Fangio kind of insinuated that he liked what he did, sticky coverage, and could possibly keep that job. Do you like what you see more from what Ringo gave you against Tampa, or do you think Adoree Jackson will be back?
Yeah, Keely Ringo. Yeah, I thought Keely did a nice job. He was relatively sticky in coverage. In fact, that's the word that Vic Fangio used to describe him. He's got to get a little bit better and sure with his tackles. There's 2 or 3 that he'd probably like to have back. But, I mean, the tape showed that although the ball didn't come to his side all that much, and for some reason Baker Mayfield attacked Quinyon Mitchell through the air, and it didn't work out for them, surprisingly. I would say that, Keely Ringo had pretty good coverage on those receivers. And I said this on, I don't remember what platform at this time, but it was something that I could see that his confidence never wavered. And despite things not going his way coming out of training camp, and you saw that on the field, didn't sink his head. He didn't hang his head. He didn't. The body language is really positive, and he got after it every snap, good play or bad. And I think that's a good telltale of the DNA of a good cornerback. So we'll have to wait and see if they turn to him this week. I think Adoree Jackson does some things better in terms of fluidity. He moves better. He has good lateral movement, and he can transition better. But Ringo has the size, the physicality, and a player who at that age, 23 years old, you can work with him, you can continue to develop him, and I don't know that it serves him or the Eagles any benefit of yanking him and then going with a 30-year-old corner. But we'll wait and see. Vic Fangio said it's possible that Keely Ringo could be back out there.
He's Andrew DiCecco, everybody. There you go. A little breakdown of the Eagles and Broncos. Should be fun. It is a 1 o'clock game at the Link, and you can listen to it right here on 97.3 ESPN. That is Football at 4. He is Andrew DiCecco from the Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com. Andrew, take care, bud.
You too.